and today I'm talking about the future of genetic engineering. Have you ever wondered what would change if we were able to redesign humans to suit our own needs and desires? What effect this could have on disease, human abilities, beauty standards, diversity, and even aging? If your answer is no, you're not unlike myself, who had never fully considered the potentialities of this type of science. Or, perhaps even harder to imagine, are the consequences of its adoption. I've spent the last year devoting my thesis to an exploration of what can happen when one's desire to conceive the perfect child meets the scientific capabilities to do so. When I refer to the concept of designer babies, it's exactly as it sounds. It's the strategic and systematic selection of human genetic composition. So today, I'm inviting you to join me in imagining the ability to make a child more extroverted or perhaps more analytical. There are two areas of scientific achievement that have brought about the very real possibility of designer babies today. The first being those in genetic engineering, and second to that are reproductive technologies. Perhaps the greatest achievement in history with regards to genetic engineering come with the CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing system, which allows for unprecedented accuracy and manipulation with gene editing. So let's take a second to consider what is currently available already today. So pregnant women go through a host of different tests to assess the health of their unborn child. IVF is common practice around the world, or in vitro fertilization, to help parents who are having difficulties conceive a child do so. And genetic engineering is very prevalent in our food and pharmaceutical industries. Research into incubation and how to improve survival rates among premature babies has brought about the very real possibility of artificial gestation or pregnancy. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, research was released on a baby lamb who was successfully birthed from an artificial uterus. Genetic engineering promises to cure disease. It promises to cure mental illness, augment ability, and so on. Looking to reproductive technology, there's a promise, again, like I mentioned, for artificial pregnancy, curing infertility, and offering the possibility to have genetically related children to individuals or couples who otherwise would be unable to do so. As cutting-edge procedures are introduced to the market, societies will have to reevaluate how individuals adopt them into their reproductive plans. How genetic engineering is regulated and what ethical principles guide its usage will largely determine people's reproductive rights in the future. The list that you see on the screen is to help provide some context around what exactly are identifiable hereditary traits. I'm cautious not to minimize the direct and significant impact that environmental factors have on the way these genes express themselves. So I suggest thinking about these traits as scales of susceptibility. For example, one eye may be more susceptible to heart disease than another individual. However, the different experiences and effects that I'm exposed to throughout my life can lower or strengthen this percentage. In my opinion, the most noteworthy geneticist working in the area of human genetic engineering today is Jourdan, and his style is very much towards human enhancement. He's been making a broad case that the CRISPR-Cas9 can do more than eliminate disease. He has listed a list of 10 naturally occurring gene variants that, when people are born with them, confer extraordinary qualities. For many people who decide they would like to have a child, determinants such as whether or not they are single or in a relationship or able to bear a child have traditionally limited the reproductive choices that they have. Choices often included natural conception, in vitro fertilization, surrogacy, and artificial in vitro fertilization, otherwise known as IVF, is unique because the egg fertilization happens outside of a woman's uterus. This is the modern test tube baby. Prior to implantation, this offers the most feasible opportunity for genetic engineering as it stands today. Already, we have the ability to test embryos prior to implantation to determine their health and viability. This is also the most accessible time to block particular genes from expressing or to introduce new genes. As scientists are better able to accurately map the human genome, more and more information is becoming revealed at the earlier stages in fetal development. Leading researcher, Dr. Jeff Nister, was a pioneer in pre-implantation genetic testing, and this is the testing of embryos prior to implantation. When he opened his practice, he found that, in fact, most of his clients were fertile couples who were more interested in determining the eye color or gender of their babies than having difficulties with fertility. In response to this, he actually closed his practice and wrote a play called Orchids, in which a medical professor, speaking to his students, says, "In a perfect world, exploration of the ethical and social implications of genetic science should precede research. Without careful constraints, the rapid pace may be harmful." So artificial pregnancy was, as I mentioned, up until very recently, just a fictional procedure called ectogenesis that would host the pregnancy outside of the female body. Artificial pregnancy offers the same pre-implantation benefits as IVF while warranting a woman's body unnecessary. So taking a step back and looking at the intricacies of reproductive technologies, I want to discuss what I find most interesting in investigating, and that being what we as society value in human beings. When parents consider their unborn child's future, what is their motivation? Is it to ensure success, their happiness, or perhaps health? How can we measure these things? And at what stage is it really none of our business, and have we intervened too far with nature? Even procedures such as the one that I mentioned earlier comes with its own host of ethical debates. If we cannot guarantee a particular quality of living, should we be taking these considerably extreme measures to preserve the life? An important note about these types of procedures is that they separate sex from reproduction. Procedures such as IVF and artificial pregnancy remove intercourse as a prerequisite to pregnancy. Contraceptives have worked throughout history to achieve the opposite of this by preventing pregnancy as a consequence of intercourse. Today, the two actions can exist in complete isolation of one another. And this makes it more accessible than ever for same-sex couples, single parents, or any individual who might otherwise be unable to have genetically related children. Throughout history, technology has seamlessly integrated itself into society with little ethical consideration. If the adoption of a particular technology or medical procedure will inevitably lead to greater success, efficiency, or cost savings, it is widely viewed as beneficial and quickly adopted. Those advancements with few consequences. However, this has to change when we consider a procedure that will have a direct impact on future generations who have no agency over this decision. Genetic engineering of the human genome at this level is unprecedented, and introducing genetic modifications into the reproductive cycle of the human genome creates an enduring and irreversible change. Once the DNA is altered and used in procreation, those engineered genes are passed on to future progeny, and therefore human augmentation becomes an accumulation of one's lineage. In addition to the daunting irreversibility of genetic engineering, come considerations of access. Medical procedures of this type are inherently expensive, and we have to consider what would happen in a world where children being born into wealth are also being born with augmented physical and intellectual capabilities. Historically, traits or qualities that are culturally deemed as admirable are difficult to attain. The uncommonality of these traits increases the value that society places on them. With the adoption of genetic engineering, possessing these traits becomes less about luck or hard work and more about a series of decisions that were made on one's behalf. These procedures have the potential to become the greatest scientific achievement of our life. They simultaneously have the potential to become devastatingly destructive. Perhaps more interesting than the grandiosity of the science is the complete ambiguity and debate among the scientific community. These interventions, as I mentioned, directly impact future generations who have no agency over their own future. Human genetic engineering is no longer science fiction and is very quickly and unsuspectingly becoming reality.